And again, while we have just a moment, we want to thank our producer and directors, Tony Koya and Sam Galbraith, respectively, of the Norristown Area School District, and their assistants, Jeannie I, Barbara Sliker, and Paul Bronson. Slivka looking for some help here. We saw this play once before, and that is true confusion. Instead of a flea flicker play, which we saw the last time, it looked like the last time that Steve Slivka was wandering around in the backfield, they snapped the ball to Hansberry, and he threw the ball down the middle. This time, Slivka didn't know what was going on, and he called timeout.
No deception that time, and they cannot afford anything right now. They certainly want to put some points on the board. This is where it becomes interesting. Norristown now at this point sees 12 minutes left, and they want the shutout. Their defense has been getting stronger and stronger each game. And to throw up a goose egg there in Suburban 1 National is an achievement. And speaking of Suburban 1 National, while we have some time, we've been talking about the big games coming up and Norristown's position in the playoffs. It's Suburban 1 National Conference is led by CB West. They're at 5-0, 6-0 overall, the state powerhouse, Central Bucks West. Pennsbury's at 5-1, and Norristown will travel to Pennsbury next week for a big game there. Of course, Pennsbury has beaten Council Rock. Norristown's at 4-1 right now, and with no league games, they're 4-1 in the league and overall. Looking to go 5-1 tonight and going into their big showdown with Pennsbury. Council Rock at 4-2 and really pretty much out of the playoff picture. Those are the Power 4 people talk about that I just mentioned, but Council Rock still having to play Central Bucks West, having lost to Pennsbury and Norristown, is behind those three teams in the playoff picture.
3rd and 6, the pitch goes to Hansberry, nothing doing, a loss of at least a yard on the play. He is brought down easily that time by the Eagle defense. In on the tackle was number 56 for Norristown, William Gant. Looks like we're seeing some substitutions on defense for Norristown. Number 78, Dwayne Evans, is also into the ball game.
Yeah, and Evans listed 6'6", 310. Looks like he's got every bit the size to go up against Yoakum there, and that certainly would be an interesting matchup should we see that.
They even wear the same number, 78 out there. Yeah, Evans has that William Perry look about him in the interior of the Norristown line.
Yeah, he certainly dominates it, and in fact this time is on the outside of the line.
Hugh McFarland back to punt. It's a low snap, but a fine punt. There's a signal for a fair catch by Brahim Mitchell, and he does catch the ball and does it appropriately this time. Receives it inside his own 20-yard line. It'll be first down, Norristown. So once again, the Eagle defense does a fine job.
And this is the kind of game that the Eagles could slip into, just going through the motions and really falling asleep a little bit. I think we've seen that in the first couple series of this first half where Norristown had some turnovers. But the defense bailed them out, and you have to say that the offense hasn't made any crucial mistakes. Certainly Norristown hasn't suffered the letdowns that they suffered last year, and that's why they're so good and where they stand right now, and moving up in all of the polls, it seems.
Galliano hands off to Carroll up the middle. Damon Carroll into the secondary, and he's brought down close to a first down. That was Marvell Rogers, number 32, in on the tackle. Damon Carroll adding to his statistics for this evening with a fine run. We'll have an official time to check for a measurement. And Walt, let's go back to something you just mentioned. That's the polls. Norristown really wasn't appearing in early season polls, especially let's talk about the Philadelphia Inquirer's poll of suburban teams. Certainly CB West has been sitting atop that poll from the beginning of the year, justifiably. Eagles played a super game against West. It was undecided until the final 7 minutes and has been stellar throughout the rest of the year, and I think it just took that victory over Council Rock to wake people up to Norristown's ability.
Yeah, I think that first loss, even though it was against the Bucks, really set them back. You certainly can't have a team sitting in your top 5 who's 0-1, and it just takes a while to move up. I think especially in the local polls, the very local, Norristown's moved up a bit slow, and just a win over Council Rock, as good as they may be, it was enough to get Norristown up, but I certainly think they should have been way ahead of where they were before that win.
And that was Phil Galliano and the quarterback keeper there on second and very, very short. And there's the signal for the first down. We'll move the sticks. And Phil Galliano gets just enough before he's driven backwards.
But, you know, Jeff, now let's take the Times Herald poll. One of the two teams ahead of Norristown is Plymouth Whitemarsh. And certainly they've had a good program, and now it's just a tremendous program. They're ripping through the Suburban One American Conference at 6-0, and the closest team being 2-3 in league play. So certainly no one to challenge them. It would be nice to see a Plymouth Whitemarsh Norristown rematch. Well, they used to play battles every year.
Damon Carroll this time looks to the outside. He slips one tackle, slips another. He carries two defenders the better part of 10 yards before he's finally stood up and knocked down. But he's into Truman territory. We've got a Truman player down on the field in the backfield. He's back up, looks like moving under his own power. But Damon Carroll continues to show great ability.
He's just a bull, and I don't know if people expect him to be so strong with the moves and the speed that he has. You know, usually it's one or the other, and you'll take one or the other if they can do it one thing as well as Damon Carroll can. He can do everything well. I think it just surprises defenses. He's so fast, and when he gets the feet moving, it takes two guys to hold him up and another guy to knock him down like you just saw.
So from midfield, the 50-yard line, looks like Carroll was had his forward progress stopped right there. The backs will be in the eye for Phil Galliano. They go to Carroll again. He's wrapped up right at the line of scrimmage. He's going to fall forward maybe for a small gain, but certainly not much.
And you know, Jeff, earlier you talked about Phil Galliano's ankle injury, which certainly doesn't look serious because he's not even limping much tonight. In fact, not showing any signs of it at all. But Galliano is such a key, has become a real leader on this Norristown team. You know, he was unsung. Maybe there have been certainly more well-known quarterbacks for Norristown, but doing exactly what he needs to do and to run this offense, and that's not make mistakes and handle the ball well.
This time the handoff goes to Carroll again. Damon picks and grabs. Wow. He's angry with himself that he only got 4 yards on the play. He should have been stopped at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, well, Jim Galtieri, number 7 there for Truman, a nice play to make the tackle on Carroll after 3 or 4 yards, but he was frozen for a moment there by Carroll. Carroll sort of looked at him, gave him a shake, and then spun away. Galtieri reacted well. It's not an easy thing to do when Damon Carroll's coming at you.
And the big part of this play is going to be what happened at the end of the play, and that was a face mask call against Truman, and that's going to move the chains and move the Eagles forward a full 15 yards.
Then again, I thought Carroll went down awfully easy on that play, and I guess we know why.
Well, what should have been a third and about 5 or 6 for Norristown is 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line, just outside the 30-yard line, with 8:30 to play in this ball game. Galliano with a pitch to Butler this time. Butler hits the middle. He's knocked forward by a Truman defender, but picks up 3, maybe 4 on the play.
And we're really seeing the cream rise to the top. The good teams come out and put their games away, usually with the running game, while the lesser teams sometimes tend to self-destruct a little bit with the penalties and the turnovers. And certainly while Truman, as we said, an up-and-coming team, they seem to be improving every year. They're just not at that level that Norristown and Central Bucks West are, and they're showing a little bit as the game grows late.
2nd and 6 for Norristown. Galliano this time on the pitch to Carroll. Good block by Butler. Carroll looks to the outside, nothing doing. And there's another fumble. Let's see if they call the ball dead. No, it's Truman ball. That's the 5th Norristown fumble tonight.
Yeah, they surrounded Carroll that time. And again, it may just be Damon Carroll trying to make a little more happen than what is actually there. It was Chris Becker that time who got her up around the outside, didn't let Carroll turn the corner. That's what you have to do. Truman really defends that well. Becker stopped him up while his teammate stripped the ball, and Becker recovered it, got the rewards for the good play.
So Truman gets another opportunity. They'll have the ball at their own 29-yard line on the Eagle turnover. And Steve Slivka, we'll see if he can lead his Tigers downfield and put some points on the board here in what so far is an Eagle defensive shutout. Slivka goes deep. He's got Ingram down the side. Oh, boy, I'll tell you. There it is. But look at Sidney Bull come out of nowhere and take Ingram down at the 10-yard line. Beaten on that play was number 1, Omar Jenkins. Jenkins did the right thing in trying to play the ball, but he just didn't have himself in the right position, and Ingram had that ball fall softly into his hands.
Yeah, a real nice throw. Ingram never broke stride, and Omar Jenkins that time beaten by a step or two with the ball is hung up in the air long enough for Jenkins to recover, just mistimed his jump. And, you know, to certainly a great play by Truman, but Jenkins, how many times do you see that play? And Truman took advantage of it. It probably wouldn't work again, but then again, they may not need it.
Well, that was a 59-yard gain on the play. It's going to be 1st and 10 from the 11. Slivka taking a look at his offensive set. Looks to the end zone. They got a man open, and it's intercepted by Sidney Bull. Sidney Bull, a great job. Ingram was open in the end zone. Slivka just didn't get it to him soon enough.
You know, Norristown slipped back in that zone, and once they realized that Slivka was not, that Truman was not going to run the ball, they just fell back, and Ingram really was open for a brief second, but Slivka was still rolling out, and he just doesn't have the ability to get that ball quickly there as he would have had to. In fact, not to take anything away from, I don't think anybody would, save a Dan Marino or a John Elway. I mean, Ingram was open for a brief second back there, and Bull had him in his sights all the way.
And these young fellas on the far side of the field in the white and gold must be shaking their heads saying, gee, what do we have to do to score against these guys?
Yeah, well, they tried to punch it in very quickly after that big play, and I think they just tried a little bit too hard to make something happen there.
So on the interception and the touchback, the Eagles take possession at their own 20. Jeff Butler is pushed backwards, and again, looks like they're really trying to tackle the ball here, Walt. Jeff Butler was holding on for dear life.
Yeah, and that's why you're going to see Butler get the ball. Damon Carroll certainly isn't fumble prone, but Jeff Butler absolutely does not turn the ball over. And, you know, Jeff Butler certainly picking up over 6 yards a carry is not a 3 yards in a cloud of dust back. You know, we've seen him break some long ones, and that's what he can do. He can get 5 or 6 yards or pop.
Well, Butler with 2 touchdowns tonight, got no gain on that last carry. Galliano again on the long count. This time they go to Butler on the pitch. He's wrapped up in the backfield, and there's going to be a loss on this play. We'll see where they spot the ball. Looks like about a loss of 3 yards, and it'll set up 3rd and long for the Eagles.
Yeah, they are trying to tackle the ball, and certainly you can't blame them. What choice did they have? That was a real heartbreaker. With under 6 minutes left, they're hard-pressed to get 3 touchdowns, but they certainly wanted something. And that time with first down inside the 5-yard line, really tried to force something in. Now Norristown's going to grind it out once again.
And Roger Grove calls timeout. He wants to talk to his offensive squad here on this 3rd and 13 play from deep in their own territory. My guess in this situation, up 20-0, you're going to see the Eagles keep the ball on the ground to keep the clock moving. Of course, I've been wrong before many times.
Well, once again, we're seeing Norristown not be dominant in any area. They're not throwing tremendous yardage up on the board. They're not racking up tons of first downs. But they're winning ball games and winning them handily. I mean, none of their backs have a significant amount of yardage when you compare them to some of the other backs in the area. But Norristown this year is just a completely solid all-around team. And as we said, all 3 facets, offense, defense, and special teams, and all 3 are extremely good. And if 1 or 2 let down, which they certainly none of them have tonight, the others can pick it up.
Well, Coach Grove has had his say out there. And now it's up to Phil Galliano and the rest of the blue and white on 3rd and 13. Oh, we're talking to Damon Carroll here, who switches sides in the set. Galliano on the snap, rolls out, throws deep. He's got Eric Stead wide open. Stead waits for his blockers, looks to beat one tackler, and just can't quite do it. But I'll tell you, what did I say? I'm never right. I think that's the smartest thing I said tonight.
Well, I don't know. Somebody's piped into you, Jeff. But whatever you say, they seem to be taking exactly the opposite. But to give you credit, I'm sure that's what Truman was thinking. And Roger Grove, knowing that, called the timeout. Right after the timeout, came out with the big play, well diagrammed. We haven't seen Erikstead touch the ball a lot this year, and that's something I'm sure Roger Grove wants to do some more if he can. We just saw it right there. The play worked extremely well. Once again, Phil Galliano, if he has the time and he has the receiver, he delivers the ball without fail.
It was a real nice play action that time. This time, Damon Carroll. Oh, look at that. Look at him pick his way to the outside. No, nobody's going to touch him. Touchdown, Damon Carroll. No flags down this time. That's going to be a 49-yard carry for the touchdown. Boy, I'll tell you, we can't get done analyzing the last good play before they throw another one at us.
Well, David Carroll showed you his style right there. He just keeps so low. As he went through that hole there, he just put a hand to the ground just to steady himself, and he stays just so low you can't get a clean shot on him. Once he gets through that line and avoids those couple of shots, he's gone. That time, probably the fastest man on the Truman team, Kevin Ingram, number 21, was out there in the corner, and Ingram just looked disgusted. Really didn't put up much of an effort, didn't want to be trailing in Damon Carroll's flames.
And he really did put the afterburners on there. When he got in the open field, it was unbelievable. Oh, Davis with a bad attempt that time, and no excuse for the extra yardage that time for Steve Davis, just a bad kick.
Hey, he's coming up a little bit. I don't know if he's trying to dip one under the crossbar, but you know, at least it's a night that Norristown can afford it.
And afford it they well can. Their lead now 26-0, and I think this could aptly be called a thrashing. Really, Norristown is just taking it to it, the Truman squad in every facet of the game.
And for anyone who was suspecting or expecting a letdown, even after the first half of play, as we might have touched on, it's not happening now. It's just not happening. Roger Grove and his coaching staff haven't let it happen, but it all comes back to the players. They're prepared, and they're prepared every week.
Yeah, it's just amazing when you watch Damon Carroll run, the way he can slip and slide. And then once he sees open field, the speed is just blazing.
Yeah, there's just nobody on the field who can compare to him in the speed department.
Davis with a short kick this time. It's going to hit just at about the 20, taken by Ingram. He looks up the middle of the field, then looks back to the sideline. Oh, boy, there was an impact. Ingram's brought down at about the 32-yard line. Omar Jenkins had the initial hit there.
And Ingram did a nice job to hold on to the ball there and shake the tackle. He really just stepped aside. If that had been a clean hit, boy, would he have felt that one. But Jenkins, a slippery receiver and runner. And it's really a shock they have not gotten the ball to him more because they have not shown any other weapons.
No, their one big play in this ball game was that 59-yard pass reception on their last offensive possession, and they negate that on the next play with an interception by Sidney Bull. So Slivka, with 4:19 to play, hands off, and the Eagle defense is right there. And on the tackle, number 89, Al Zone. And I'd expect to see a few substitutions here, what we call a broadcaster's nightmare. Chang Hong comes into the ball game as Sidney Bull takes a well-deserved rest on the bench. Fine ball game by Sidney.
I believe I also saw Michael Childs come into the game. That's number 69. And he'll set himself up on the left side of the defensive line.
And Erikstead has just come off the field there, Walt, with that substitution. And I can't say enough about Erikstead. I really like the way that guy plays football.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's a rare combination of the size, of the speed and the moves you just saw on offense. He's not your typical tight end. And just incredible aggressiveness, a drive for the ball everywhere he is. That's just so rare.
Slivka drops back to pass. He's under intense pressure, slips one tackle. Oh, what a block that time put on the Norristown defender, and that ball is going to be caught And look at unbelievable. I'm telling you, folks, I can't even get it out. That play was so unbelievable. Lamont Johnson makes the tackle. That play seemed doomed from the very outset. Slivka, deep in the backfield, was being pursued aggressively by two Norristown defenders, including number 69, Michael Childs. Managed to get the ball off. There were two Norristown defenders in front of the offense. They tipped the ball, and I guess that was Ingram who reeled it in there on the far sideline.
You wound up with now two Truman players running down, and the one turned around to block just a bit late. And as Lamont Johnson just blew by him to get that tackle. And there you see the desire right there. The Eagles want that shutout. But Joe Goldie, boy, sprung his quarterback. Slivka just laid a crushing block as the Norristown lineman was trying to get in on the quarterback, and allowed him some time to throw that ball. And wow, what a freaky play that was, the ball being tipped up in the air.
I misjudged that play. I thought the big call on that play was going to be the crushing block that you just described, and here the pass was completed. And I'll tell you, Ingram certainly doesn't have blazing speed.
No. It would be a shame to think that he would be their fastest man, although he's the man they talk about as being their weapon. But he certainly can't even come close to catching Damon Carroll, and it looks like any of the Norristown defensive backs can run him down with fairly a lot of ease.
Yeah, Lamont Johnson just came out of nowhere and ripped him down. Yeah, a fine play.
And they have to be ready to block on that play. I mean, when you have a receiver down there standing next to you, they had any one of two guys who could have caught that ball. The other one's got to turn to block, and Lamont Johnson just didn't let it happen.
I think Ingram was as surprised as anyone that he had that ball in his hands at the conclusion of the play.
Well, it's good concentration. It's not easy to catch a ball like that, and then you turn around and all you see is open field. It's sort of a surprise, and you think, well, how could they let that happen? But Norristown, throughout the game, is going to go for the big play.
And we have another official's time. Looks like Omar Jenkins coming off the field. Not sure whether that's equipment or if Omar's looks like he's holding his head. Looks like he might have taken a little bit of a hit on that last play. Coming into the ball game for him is number 24, Vernon Tubbs.
And Tubbs registered an interception last week against Council Rock, 1 of 5 for Norristown. So it's certainly not that you're losing a ton when you bring someone else in. Norristown goes pretty much 2, maybe sometimes 3 deep at every position.
So 1st and 10 from the Norristown 22. They go up top again. That ball is overthrown, and I believe intercepted by Braheen Mitchell. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Braheen Mitchell with another big play tonight, and Steve Slivka has had a tough evening at quarterback for the Truman Tigers.
Yeah.
So again, as soon as they're within striking distance, the Eagles thwart them again.
Phil Galliano certainly turned into a great quarterback, but Braheen Mitchell wishes he could get a ball thrown to him that nicely by Galliano. That was just perfect, but really not much structure now and desperation by the Truman Tigers.
Again, they came up with a big play. They were deep in Norristown territory at the Eagle 22-yard line, and Braheen Mitchell was the only guy with a chance at that ball. And now Phil Galliano is going to take a rest here the final 3 minutes of this ball game. Coming in at quarterback is number 8, A.J. Niedesick. The handoff goes up the middle this time. Good yardage on the play. Vernon Tubbs, number 24, the ball carrier. So the first squad for Norristown has taken a seat on the bench, at least at the skill positions, although the lineman might argue with me about that.
Skill or not, they are the key, and I think everybody knows that. Most of all, they're the backs who are running behind them. And out there, looks like it's going to be the right tackle, number 70. Irvin Chavou is one of the linemen who've come in.
4 yards on that last play. Unsurprisingly, a handoff again. This time Vernon Tubbs loses, I think, the 4 that he just gained on the previous play.
And Chavou that time was just looking for somebody to hit as he pulled from right to left down the line, but the back never got in behind him.
Now it's going to be 3rd and 10 for the Norristown second team here. Nedisic has the backs in the eye, hands off again to Tubbs. Tubbs picks up about 3, but it'll bring up a 4th down situation. So the Eagles will have to punt here with 1:30 to play in this ball game. The clock is running down, and so is our videotape. We're going to take a break in just a moment after this kick to change tapes for you, and hopefully won't miss any of the action here. But on 4th and 6 with 1:15 to play in this ball game, Brahim Mitchell will be kicking again. The snap, no pressure. Mitchell's kick is a good one. It's going to bounce at about the 47-yard line. Eric Stead is the cover man, and he'll pull it down at about the 39-yard line. And we'll be back in just a moment for the conclusion of this ball game.